Hello everybody and welcome to another episodic installation of Deep Diving in Doom Demo History. Today we're going to be taking a look at the classic episode E2M1 and introducing a new feature of the series where I look at it in a map editor before I show the demos. And the reason is because I think it helps to understand the level a little bit more in depth before we start doing demos. Otherwise, you don't really know what's happening unless you've already played the level. And the classic episode, I've talked about it before, but it is a 2000 WAD, but it's a compilation of multiple 1998, 99 levels, stuff around that era. And it's very simple, like Doom 1 classic formula, but it's not necessarily Doom 1 Episode 1. It's kind of like an amalgamation of all the different Doom, themes from the Ultimate Doom. So it's got a lot of Episode 1, 2, 3, and 4 themes. This level here, pretty small, but there's lots of windows here. By the way, today we're going to be taking a look at the Tyson category, but you already know that because it's in the title. We got the yellow key here. We got the mid bars with the chainsaw. We got the exit right here. And as you can see here, it's not that big of a level, You'll start here, you'll go over here, you got to get the red key, which is right here. Once you get the red key, you go in here, you do that, you get the blue key, and then you go in here, and guess what? You got a yellow key, and then you go in here, and that's the exit of the level. So, with all that in mind, let's play the very first Tyson run for this level, which was recorded in August of 2001. By the user, I believe it's Bodco, no N. And they say in their text file description, I think the first thing I should say is Comp10 is most certainly the realm of the single-player Doom gods, and I cannot say for sure what possessed me to stick my head in here, parentheses, not unlike a mouse sticking its head into a cat's den. I've never uploaded one before, and I can say with absolute certainty that any of the regular Comp10 players can beat my time on this map in a very short order. Nevertheless, I decided to upload it semicolon. We'll see if the Doom gods let me keep this one Comp10 point for a little while. For those of you that did not know, you got like a 1 point on Comp10, which is an old school Doom speedrunning website, for every record you held. And I think it was like 2 points if it was like, some like UV speed and I think movies, episode runs, full game runs had like 5 points. I don't know. I'm not a Comp10 player, though I'm sure a Comp10 player who was around back in the day can leave a comment with more information on the scoring system. And maybe one day I'll look into it and make a video about it. But basically, it left you with the potential of searching for categories that no one has done yet and then doing a table fill. But that's not the end of the description here. I want to thank Anders Johnson just for being such a fierce player, Ocelot for being there and getting so damn good so fast that I have more hope for the future of Doom than ever. Henning for making his mind-boggling, incredible nightmare speedruns for us mortals to watch and shake our heads at in disbelief, and Waldon for encouraging me to make this run in the first place. And those are some old school Doom players. But anyway, this is the very first recorded run for the Tyson category. So with that 15,000 year long setup, let's actually watch the demo here. And having done this and also gotten the record myself, I gotta say, this is a real fuckmother of a map. And the reasons are ultimately just from the lack of health and ammo, and from the plethora of hit scanners. There's a fucking shitload of hit scanners. So basically, you get one solid hit from a shotgunner, and you're out of commission. There's like 2 or 3 health kits, and you're probably just going to be fucked. But again, I am coming from a place of getting around a 2.5 minute time. So if you're going to do something like this run, and I'm going to play it on 2x here, because this is taking the cover shooter method of Tyson gameplay, where especially in a level like this where there's no health, I mean, I'm not saying there's literally no health, there's a couple pockets of health, okay, so sometimes I get a little hyperbolic, but a lot of it is insufficient, and you don't get armor for an extended period of time. And when you're doing a Tyson run, you can choose to run to the armor, but then you're risking getting shot. And so Badco here is just kind of taking it slowly and surely, getting that invisibility so that this horde of guys here, as you can see if I rewind, this horde of enemies, you know, they kind of turn their mouse really quickly. But those guys will fuck you up if you're not invisible. And even if you are invisible, you'll still probably get fucked up. So I was pretty lucky there to not get fucked up. And, of course, there's the green armor in that secret. And again, if you just take 1 or 2 hits from a shotgunner, you're pretty much not going to be able to recover. There's very little health in this map here. And again, this is the first run for this category from 2001. So again, just, you know, whenever I'm you know, covering these really old records, it always blows my mind that people have really just been speedrunning this game for and will continue for about 30 years or so. Really heavily for 25 years. But again, there's lots of safety strategies here. Again, there's no record that Badco is going for, just beat the game, essentially. And again, that's the kind of speedrunning that I find to be like, you know, there's the more competitive, you know, grinding for ticks and frames and seconds kind of speedrunning. And then there's the like challenge run aspect of speedrunning where you're still doing a speed run, but the goal is more so to do a challenge. You know, in Doom, you know, Tyson is a good challenge category. It was one of the very first Doom categories. Even before kind of speedrunning was the focus, there was a thing called Doom honorific titles. That, you know, you'd beat the whole game without dying on UV, and then, you know, that's not cool enough, so you beat the, you know, every level without dying on UV, and then you want to do it as fast as possible, and then you got beat the whole level using fist, pistol, and chainsaw, called the Tyson category. So it was one of the very first actual categories for Doom. You know, citation needed if someone wants to fill in some gaps in my information bank there. I would love to have that information. But as far as I'm aware, this is one of the first categories for Doom, so you know, I find that to be very interesting as well, that it's such an old category, dating all the way back to the mid-1990s. But again, just doing a speed run where you're not necessarily trying to beat any record time, or you have really no time in mind, and you're just kind of, it's really more of a challenge run than a speed run. But the thing I like about speed running, or like doing it as a speed run, you know, there's all kinds of people that do like challenge things, like, you know, look up YouTube videos on challenges for various video games. I like to watch Fallout challenge runs. That's pretty fun. And, you know, they're not doing a speed run, you know, like they're sitting there saving and loading and coming back multiple weeks later, or like, you know, but just the idea of doing the whole game or the whole run in one sitting. And again, you're seeing a lot of methodical approach here to the saw here. That is, you know, it's not fast, but the goal is to beat the game here. So, but yeah, the thing about speedrunning is it puts on that time pressure of like, you know, you want to do the whole game in one sitting. I know that there's obviously tool-assisted runs which use segments, and then there's also segmented speedruns, you know, that use saving and loading. But just the idea of doing a complete challenge in one playthrough is something that I love about speedrunning versus just challenge runs, generally speaking. And then, of course, you know, the other thing about speedrunning is the implication that other people, or possibly you in the future, will do the same thing again, but faster, but better, optimizing the strategies and so forth. And again, you're really kind of seeing that with this kind of run here. And that's why I also like covering a lot of old map sets and stuff that was, again, 3% health is insane. By the way, I just noticed that. Is because you see, again, just different styles of gameplay. People had different kind of goals. There's like the one and only health kit right there. And there's 84 out of 84. So now we're just going to watch going to the exit. Hopefully you don't get killed on the nukage floor here. And there you go. But again, the thing about doing a speed run or a challenge run under the guise of a speed run is the implication, and especially when it comes to Doom and Compete10 back in the day, that other people will do better. And I love the idea of setting a baseline. Like, yes, this is possible, because until someone does it, you know, there's always kind of like, is it possible? Well, probably, but no one's done it, you know, that kind of stuff. But just, you know, the proof of concept of a speedrun like this is something I always really, really, really enjoy. And so next we're going to be getting into the next run, which was the first one to beat this demo. Of course, that was a 6-minute 57-second demo. This next demo I'm going to cover is 4 minutes and 43 seconds by the user Zitvono, who says, this level really can be difficult sometimes, but with practice and a good strategy, it's just not too bad. Laura, just because I took your point doesn't mean I want you to quit recording. I thought this could be an interesting challenge. If you want to keep your points, then I suggest flooding the PWADs with table fillers. Just look at the Requiem tables to see what I mean. So, Zitvono, the original table filler. So, let's check this out. 4 minutes, 43 seconds. So here we go. We got about a 2-minute improvement here from Zitvono. And Max the dog is currently woofing, so shout outs to Max the dog. And again, we're gonna see like kind of like what strategy improvements are being made. Something I've said before, but I want to say again about like kind of how speedrun optimization works. Is that oftentimes, you know, like you have a 6-minute, 57-second baseline, right? And so what do speedrunners play the most? The first half, you know, usually you die in the middle, you die in like the start, you die, you know, sometimes you die in the end, but overall you're just going to be playing the first half of the game or the level, whatever you're doing a speedrun of, more so. So a lot of the times when you do see a lot of speedrun optimizations, you see them really primarily in the first half, or like, you know, front loaded, I should say, where it's like the start of a speedrun, or like, you know, some area in the first section of the game, or something that's like, you know, you playing it over and over again. Typically speedrunners play the first half, or what, you know, the first sections more than the last section. So that's where you're going to see a lot of the punching up. And you can, like, let's say if you save a minute or so, 2 minutes in the first section, you can just kind of chill. For the second section, you're 2 minutes ahead, you know you're 2 minutes ahead, or whatever, you have an inkling, you have a feeling, so you can kind of even like do something where you hyper optimize the first half, and then you even lose time in the second half, which I'm not saying is happening here, but that's just, you know, generally what you see in speed running. So when you take like a baseline of about a 7-minute run, there's lots of improvements that can be made, especially when it comes to infighting, that we're seeing Zitvono doing, getting a lot of the guys to, like, you know, shoot each other and then just running away and taking out some other guys while the infighting is happening. So like when you spruce up that first half, and especially, again, that's where all the resets are. And again, I've said, if you get hit by one shotgunner, it's pretty much lights out in this run, especially if it's before you get the armor, just because there's almost no health in this map. There's like maybe 80 health or so, not counting bonuses, maybe like 90 health, which sounds like, you know, okay, it's like a full extra health bar. But again, the amount of shotgunners, hit scanners, all that kind of shit, especially when you're trying to go fast, it really adds up. So again, you can just like choose to do like one part, like, and again, like for this level, there's lots of different sections you can tackle. So like, you know, instead of tackling one section first, you can go to the hard, you can speed run, you know, not kill everything run, you know, but just like you're running straight to the hardest part. Do the hardest part. It's non-linear. You can choose which part you do first. Do the hardest part first, you know, and if you're going to do that over and over again, it's going to, you know, that's going to be quicker and quicker. And then once you get through with that part, let's say you're a minute ahead, 2 minutes ahead, you can just kind of take it easy. You can even, you know, do it slower than the record in the second half of the run because you optimized this so much in the first half. And so when you see a lot of old runs, or just like, you know, the first couple of runs of anything, Doom, you know, any other game, whatever, a lot of the times, a lot of the early optimizations are going to be in the early game, just because that's what people are playing the most. And when you die, and when a Doom run, you know, the whole goal of a Doom run is a single segment. You record a demo, which is not compatible with saving and loading, which is different from a lot of other games, a lot of ways that people speedrun other games. So it's like, you know, you can do that balls to the wall strategy in like the first 1 or 2 minutes, and if you die, you just start over, and then you go until you don't die, and then from that point, you're just guaranteed to win. All you got to do is finish out. So, but again here, Zitvono is definitely a more seasoned player at this point. Of course, the 657 was recorded by someone who said that it was their first Compete-10 run. So, it's going to be interesting to see how it progresses from here, because Bodko does come back and, you know, post another run here. And one thing I should also say, about a lot of these old Competen runs, any run that's on the original DOS executable, even some early PR Boom runs, is that a lot of these old runs, like pre-2010 especially, but really even pre-2016, they don't use the, obviously the original Doom did not have a in-game kill counter. You only see the kill count at the end. And, that's why, you see like, oh, I killed the final monster, and then you just wander around and look for other guys to kill, because oftentimes they don't know it's the final monster, and you're looking out for audio cues or visual cues, you see them through a window or something. And maybe I'll make a video if anyone's interested on the like history of the advanced HUD, the in-game kill counter, stuff like that, because back in the day, it either did not exist, for an extended period of time, and when it started existing, a lot of players thought it was cheating, just straight up tool assisted or whatever the fuck, but now it's completely standardized. Everyone uses a kill count, everyone uses a secret count, HUD in-game while they're playing, and you would be stupid not to. That, there are people that play with no HUD, I'm sure. I know Zitvono still records on the original executable, so they would not have access to the kill HUD. But again, you see that a lot in the old runs there. But a 443, a solid 2-minute improvement, which again, the first run was a classic table fill, so getting a 2-minute improvement's not necessarily the hardest thing in the world, but it's a big improvement. And if you continue to look at the list here, Bodco comes back with a 4-minute and 16-second run. Let's read the text file here. And this is a couple days later in February of 2002. Description. Well, I originally made a kind of slow demo that was 6:57. I knew that the skilled Competen players could beat it easily, and said so in the text file. Then Walden told me that a keyboarder had managed to beat my time, and I was like, oh my god, ? It was that bad? Yep. So I had to do something about that. Need to thank Adam Hagee. This demo exists because I studied Adam's Tyson technique very closely and managed to mimic him well enough to complete the map much faster than before. Definitely learned a lot. Also, Walden for encouraging me to get the job done. So shout outs to Keyboard Only. Let's check this out. 4 minutes and 16 seconds. Let me make sure the demo plays. Again, Zitvono did a 2-minute improvement, and then now we got a 30-second improvement. So you're seeing like the amount of time save getting shaved down over time here. But let's see how this goes. Obviously, in the very first demo, Bodco did a lot of the cover shooting, kind of just like hoping for the best. Or not necessarily hoping for the best, but just like planning for the best, going slow on purpose to manipulate the outcome so that the best actually happens versus just blindly, wildly running in and just hoping you don't get shot, which is really the evolution of Doom speedruns. It's the axis of speed and safety. When you go faster, typically, in most cases, the safety plummets, and the faster you go, the less safe it is over time until you're just grinding the first 5 seconds of a run over and over, hoping you don't get shot at a max damage roll. But again, you can still use cover shooting, and especially in this map, because there's -7 health kits on this entire level. I say as the health kit is on screen, but it's like the only one. There's like 2 of these guys. Right, so again, you take a big shotgun shot and you're really fucked in a lot of instances, and that's just random. You get hit by the shotgun, it's kind of random how much damage you're going to take. So again, you're seeing a lot of the front loading here, kind of trying to zoom to the harder parts of the level, because especially in this kind of level, it's kind of non-linear. You can kill most of the guys before getting any of the keys. Right, so it's like you can kind of pick and choose which rooms you're doing first and that kind of stuff. So when you're going to kind of like choose which room to do first, and you're going to reset a lot in the first half of a speedrun, typically what you want to do is just go do the hardest part as soon as possible, and then, based on how quickly you do the hardest part, you can determine how much you want to chill for the remainder of the run. So again, like I've said, if you save 30 seconds in the first half, you can lose 25 seconds in the second half and still get a record. So, and especially in a run like this, where it's like you can go in guns blazing at the start, take a lot of damage, or you might need to do more of that cover shooting safety strats in the second half. So, but you know, that's the fun stuff I really enjoy about speedrunning, is just the ways that people play the game. And again, I love the idea of just playing a game or like a level, or just, you know, setting out to do a challenge in one sitting. That is like the fundamental essence for me when it comes to speedrunning, and why I like it so much. I just like the idea of start to finish, one try. You have this goal in mind and you do it in one try, which, you know, is very antithetical to a lot of video game culture, especially, you know, if you're working a lot, or, you know, you have a family or something, you're not going to have that much time to, you know, to devote to playing, like, let's say a 7-hour game in one sitting. But that's where stuff like this, like Doom runs, I find to be infinitely enjoyable, because you can just pick any level, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, fire up a couple attempts. Oh shit, the baby's crying, you know, turn it off, try again later, that kind of stuff that I really enjoy about the, you know, just the way Doom demos work. You know, you can record a demo for any level, you can warp to any level, and you can put in-game parameters at, you know, the start of any level, make a nightmare, make it UV, fast monsters respawn, and then the way you play the game is also different, right? So that's what I love about Doom speedrunning. I feel like it's just infinitely enjoyable. And for those reasons. And again, in this run, you're just kind of seeing, like, you know, a lot more optimization, you know, kind of just going into the enemies. You know, if you get hit, you get hit. You know, you just deal with what happens. And if you die, you reset, right? Using this barrel is interesting. It might work. It might work. It might work. We got 8 bullets left. It might happen. See, that's the thing about, like, in a Tyson run, barrels is like a free rocket launcher, right? So it's like you really want to be able to use them, but also it's the opportunity cost. You know, sometimes the monsters don't cooperate, like they did not hear. So like all the time spent trying to manipulate the barrel is just a waste of time, because they ended up not actually using the barrel whatsoever. But again, a solid improvement. Taking the last guys and doing them at the end, you know, like, you know, they are at the end, so kill them at the end, right? You know, it's a philosophy that I tend to stand by. But again, a solid improvement, about 20 or 30 seconds faster. And again, this is where we're going to start seeing this run get a lot more bogus. Because from this point onward, it's just, again, you're going to want to pick a spot and you want to go to town on it and just hope it works. And so Zitvono, later on, and how much later? About 2 months later, posted a 4-minute, 12-second demo. And in this demo, now, this is one thing I find enjoyable about old school Compete-N demos, is so many players, like, you know, you had stuff like IRC back then, but a lot of the time, a lot of players would just talk to each other in the run descriptions, you know, like, oh, I'm going to do a run you're going to do. I know you're going to read my description, so I'm going to send you personally a message. So if you look at a lot of these old demos, you see like a lot of fun conversations, you know, like there's a lot of like, you know, I remember at one point looking through, and this is just a sidebar, like a Doom 2 map, like I don't remember what map it was, but a Respawn demo history. This was a couple years ago. And like they're just like talking to each other about like family events. Like, oh yeah, how was your fucking holiday season? Oh, my holiday season was great. And they're just talking to each other in the UV Respawn text descriptions, right? And so with that in mind, Zitvono says, I think maybe you misunderstood my last text file. I was suggesting that you do lots of PWAD demos, because players like Adam Heggie and Adam Williamson, the rule of atoms, you know, back in the day, there's so many, have that nasty habit of beating new players' demos in just a few hours. But it makes, if you make lots of them, they will get bored of beating your demos. Now, I know that as a fact. I make a shitload of demos, and, you know, that's why I have the highest record index, because I just play this game all the time. And I play WAD specifically that other people don't like, so that they never compete with me, obviously, duh. And, but, you know, it's a strategy. As for the demo, it's okay. I decided to take the invisibility and go all out with the chainsaw until it runs out, which I think works pretty well. I had some health problems near the end, so I played quite cautiously, so you should be able to beat this. P.S. Next time, try studying the style of Henning Skogsto. I always struggle with that one. I'm sorry, Henning. Instead, and you might have more success. So, you know, Zitvono throwing some pro tips out there. always useful. I'm not sure if it's necessarily useful at this point in time, but it's always fun to read that kind of stuff. And again, I think it's adorable, to be honest with you, that, you know, back in the day, people would just talk to each other in run descriptions. You know, like nowadays people talk on Discord and other sorts of garbage like that, where it's like a lot of the conversations are lost to history, and it's on purpose, and people know that everything is being lost to history. And I personally, I don't know, I don't like it. I think the era of Discord is going to be a giant black hole in especially when it comes to these really niche communities like Doom speedrunning. You know, it's just a black hole of history. You know, like there's going to be a moment in 20 years from now where we have like a complete historical index, except for, you know, the year Discord was born up until everyone got their shit together is just a black hole of history. But, you know, ranting and raving aside, let's go in. This is the 4 minute and I think it was 12 second. Let me just check this real quick. 4 minute and 12 seconds. So again, a 4-second improvement. You know, Zidvono, you know, shout outs to Zidvono and everything. But, you know, you're talking a tough game. Oh, hey, you know, maybe you're not cut out for this one, Jack. And then you only beat it by 4 seconds. Hey, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just having fun with it. But again, as I was mentioning before, you're really seeing the heavy optimization of the first half versus the second half, right? As Zitvono says in the text file, you know, going for the big hordes as soon as possible with the invisibility, and then from that point on, you might be left with 2% health, you might be left with 4% health, you might be left with 28% health, you might be left with 90% health if you get really lucky. And then from that point, you have a lot of wiggle room to play with. And so again, if you lose all your health in the first half, but you save like 1 minute, you can drain all your time in the second half and end up getting a 4-second record. And, you know, that's all you need. That's the thing about speedrunning that I enjoy. It's all about getting the faster time. And, again, sometimes, you know, there's some instances where it's like, you know, oh, a new trick was found and I beat your run by 17 minutes because I knew this trick that you didn't. And that stuff, you know, that's always interesting to me, but it's like less of a direct skill comparison. Really, it's at that point when you discover a trick in a category, it kind of becomes a different category altogether. It kind of becomes a different run altogether, and it's hard to compare them across. You know, if you find some sequence break that lets you get a BFG early or something, you know, that's going to be a completely different run from someone who did not find that, right? So, but the thing about this level is there's really no skips or anything, especially not for a Tyson run. So it's all about strategy. It's all about what areas you do first, how well you do them, and again, how well you do the cleanup, or again, how not well you do the cleanup. You save 2 minutes at the start, you can lose 1 minute and 56 seconds and then still get a record. And that's pretty fun. I always enjoy that kind of stuff because, yeah, like if you combine the two demos, like one gets a really good second half, one gets a really good first half, then you would see like what the ultimate ideal time would be. And again, the record that I have is about a 2.5 minute run. So still lots of time to shave off here. But yeah, as we're at the 2.5 minute mark, most of the enemies are dead. Again, the big hard sections are dead, like this section here, you know, with the blue floor. That's probably the hardest room. And most of the guys are dead, so it's just kind of carrying it through, hoping you don't take any bad shots. Choosing to pistol these guys, you know, it's a safety strat, but you can just run over and use the chainsaw. It's possible. I think I've done it before, once or twice. But again, 29% health, you know, all it takes is one full power shotgun and you are screwed. You know, you might be left with like 5% left and then you're in one shot territory. So, and especially, you know, Zitvono here is using a lot of the pistol, but if you're focusing on chainsaw, there's a lot of the times where like enemies will be able to like get one frame attacks in or whatever while you're doing the chainsaw. So you're in the melee range and they just throw out one random attack and boom, you're dead, right? So you're seeing a lot of the safety strats that Zitvono is talking about in the text file of just kind of using the pistol. Whoa, 1%. Here we go. Here we go. I mean, obviously, I know they finished, so it's not that scary. But again, just using the pistol so you can avoid getting killed. There's that one health kit that you really need. And, you know, again, the pistol in Tyson runs. Now, again, there's some enemies that you can only kill with the pistol. That's why the pistol is allowed in the first place. You know, ranged enemies and stuff. It's very common in a lot of levels, even in the original games. So that's why the pistol's allowed in the first place. Otherwise, it would just be like fist and chainsaw. But like, you know, the pistol's allowed, and how would you make a rule that says you can only use the pistol on ranged enemies, right? That would be extremely hard to enforce, you know, like, because then you have to scrub through every frame of the demo to make sure that it's, oh, this enemy can only be killed. So a lot of the times when you're whipping out the pistol in a Tyson run, it's because your shit's getting rocked and you want to slow it down a little bit so you don't die. But again, a solid run. Both of those runs were very similar. Again, very similar end times as well. And then it's going to be a while until we see another run, about 6 or 7 months, from a player named Ranjo, which I'm not going to lie to you, Ranjo, the coolest name I've ever seen in my life. You know, I've never seen another Ranjo. I've never heard of another Ranjo, but goddamn, that is a really cool name. So shout outs to Ranjo. In the description says, "Hiya, folks. I have not played Compete 10 in a while, and I saw this points from Zitvono. Class Ep is not bad, and it's just like Doom." English is not perfect there, but hey, it's a great time. 238. Now, this is from November 14th, 2002, so about 6 or 7, or, you know, I can't do math, so about 8 months later. And again, 238. Now, I'm going to tell you, I only beat this run by a couple seconds. I mean, literally a couple seconds, 2 seconds I beat this run by. This map is insane when you're going for a run like this. The idea that there was, you know, a 4-second time save from Bodco to Zitvono's second run, both of their second runs, and then we got another like 2 minutes or so, like close to, you know, maybe a minute and a half or so. That is crazy. This run is insane. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is a god tier demo, okay? You know, it took me a while to beat this. This is a really, really solid run. And again, once you get down to this like level of time save or whatever, you're really just grinding the slot machine at this point. So let's watch this demo. How does Ranjo do this section? Gunning for the chainsaw, using the wall run there, you know, get all the seconds you can. And just go into town. Get the invis and just go to town. Chop these guys up. ID choppers. Now this section here, again, this is the real big section. Getting here with 70% health, now 57, with all those guys dead, insane amount of luck there. It doesn't look like it, but that's the thing about these kinds of runs, is like until you play it yourself, you don't really understand how insanely luck-based a lot of this stuff is. Because as you're seeing, a lot of these shots, you get hit with a full power shotgunner, you can lose a lot of health, especially before you get the armor. So, you know, just surviving that first section and getting the infighting, because that's another big thing in these like big circles of enemies, is you can get a lot of infighting. So you want to bait them to shoot you, but you don't want them to actually shoot you. You want them to shoot some other guy that's in between you and them. So you're always going out there trying to bait the shotgunners, you know, to shoot you, and then, you know, hope they don't actually shoot you. And it's a hit scan weapon, right? So it's like you just have to kind of run and cover in front of imps, and a lot of the time it doesn't really work out too well. But again, this is just such a solid demo. I watched this before I did mine, and I was honestly, I was in awe that this is a run from 2002, because again, it's so clean, and it's so lucky. Now again, the execution is not perfect. I would even argue if you were to get a perfectly executed, perfect luck speedrun of this, Tyson style, you could probably get under 2 minutes. Closer to the UV max time, which is like a minute and a half or so. I think that's definitely possible with Tyson, but good luck, because again, the luck required is insane. So like the execution here, very good. Not perfect, you know, nothing, you know, I don't want to toot Ranjo's horn too much. The execution, solid, you know, A tier, maybe B tier at the very worst. But the luck here and just like, you know, going and doing a lot of these hard sections first, not getting overwhelmed by the shotgunners so that you have enough health to kind of go out. You know, Zitvono kind of pistoled a lot of the guys in the second half in the previous run. And so you don't have to do that when you survive the first half with a shitload of health, right? So, but again, the luck here, insane. The execution, solid. This is a good demo. I definitely think you could get under 2 minutes. I definitely think you can get close to the UV max time, even without using the shotgun. Just because barrels and infighting, you know, they do a lot of work in Tyson, you know, for sure. But again, the luck required at this stage is crazy. So now we're going to watch my demo, which is from April 22nd of this year. And in the description, I say, a lot harder than it looks due to there being negative 46 health and 9,532 hit scanners. So I was extremely scientific with that analysis. There's a lot of these guys, so let's watch. And again, this is 22 years later, 22-year gap, and I only saved 2 seconds. Honestly, I'm a little embarrassed. But at the same time, a record's a record. Am I right, people? So I don't really know. I was trying to get these guys to infight while I was waiting on that lift timer. That didn't really go that well, but it kind of worked. I managed to somehow not get hit in that entire big section there, and then I got a bunch of shots here, which is not necessarily the best. But again, 65, now 75 and 90. Like, once you get to this 30-second mark, right, like for me in the route that I was doing, if you get to this section with like anything above like 30 health, you're really, you know, you're looking at something that could reasonably exit here. But getting 60% health here, like I have enough room here to just kind of go hog wild with the chainsaw. And again, in a run like this where you got the chainsaw, and that's a lot of low tier enemies. There's no arachnotrons. Obviously, this is a Doom 1 WAD, so there are no arachnotrons to begin with. But like everything is easily sawable, except for the hit scanners, or especially when there's hordes of hit scanners or just hordes of enemies in general, because you're in a stationary spot sawing a guy and some other guy can shoot you from behind or whatever. But when you have so much health, you know, you can go into an area and just say, look, I'll just tank the hit. If I get hit, I get hit. If it happens, it happens. You know, just go full Ivan Drago on these guys. And again, I'm going across here using the chainsaw here as well. Now, the thing about these barrels here that I shoot is I was experimenting with not even bothering with the barrels, because again, there is a time cost to switching to the pistol and then switching back to the chainsaw later. But when the barrels go perfectly, and just to rewind here, I think the barrels here went pretty well. If you look at the kill count, before and after I shoot the barrels. So 3 kills or so, pretty solid. Especially one of them is an imp, right? Imps take a little bit longer to chainsaw than regular zombies. But, you know, sometimes you can get all those guys and not have to saw anymore. Sometimes you get none of those guys, and when that happens, you just wasted time switching to the pistol, right? And then, you know, that's like 2 seconds right there, and I only got the record by 2 seconds. So, like, imagine I pistoled those barrels. They did nothing, you know, and then I had to switch back to the chainsaw. I probably wouldn't have gotten the record here, so. But again, you're just kind of seeing at this point, just go into town, you know, with the chainsaw. If you get hit, you get hit. You deal with it. You die. You start over, and you keep going until it works. Right there, I got really confused because I just left a bunch of guys in here and I forgot that they were there, and then they just started shooting me, and I almost died. But yeah, like I was saying, you can definitely get a sub 2 minute time here. It's just the luck required. I would say it's arguable whether or not my execution is better than Ronjo. I think we have pretty similar execution in this run in both of our demos, but my luck, I think, was a little bit better. I would also argue that my route was a little bit better, just the methods of how I kind of got monsters to fight each other and so forth. But again, ultimately, I only saved 2 seconds. But again, if anyone out there wants to try it, there's definitely more than enough room, although you're going to probably have to reset a lot on the first half, but hey, that's part of the fun. And again, I like, you know, doing these videos, especially for older WADs, because there's just so much history. And I also part of me just finds it kind of adorable how people 20-ish years ago would, you know, communicate, how they wrote, how they talked to each other in run descriptions. You know, like I'm sure that there was a lot of discussion in IRC chat logs as well, but a lot of that is lost to time. I know some people have backups of old IRC channels, but a lot of it's not public or anything. So I always really appreciate just the kind of fun and interesting history that you find in a lot of these text files from 2002. Again, all of these runs were from late 2001, 2002, and then I pop in 22 years later to save 2 seconds. So big whoop for me. But in my defense, Zitvono saved 4 seconds, you know, 20-something years ago. So it's not like it's totally unheard of. But anyway, thank you for watching the classic episode. I might do more videos like this for the classic episode. There's lots to cover. But also, I don't necessarily want to do the same WOD, too quickly after I don't want to necessarily do a whole series at once. I like to spread things out, switch around, and do different kinds of stuff. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this whole thing. I know I haven't done any of these in a couple weeks, but it was my birthday a few days ago, so I wanted to kind of take it easy and not worry about YouTube for a while. But I'm back. And I'm here to make videos where I talk about Doom for about, 40 minutes or so. So thank you. Goodbye. Hopefully you will see me again at another point in time, unless I die mysteriously, which is always possible. I always wake up every morning thinking to myself, is today the day that like a meteor crashes into my living location and, we all get burned alive? Possibly. Or maybe it's a day where I do a video on YouTube about Doom. That's possible too. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. But for now, that's all I got. It's really hard for me just, to end videos. I don't know how to shut the like once I, it's hard for me to start doing videos. Once I get my engine revved, it's hard for me to shut the fuck up. Like I don't know how to end the video. Like all the content's done. What am I, like and subscribe, dude. Like what am I supposed to do here? I don't know. Anyway, goodbye.